In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to sharpen an image in Photoshop and how to save your image in different formats, um, so for print and for to upload to Facebook or other social media or websites. So I did a tutorial in Lightroom with the same image on how to sharpen in Lightroom. Now I'm doing this in Photoshop because it's really the best way to sharpen your images is in Photoshop. I made some adjustments here. I brightened my midtones and I made the eyes pop a little bit in here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to stamp my visible layers. What this is going to do is it's going to take all of my layers here, all of my adjustments, and it's going to merge them into a new layer on top, a new pixel layer. And I'm going to sharpen that layer only. I'm not going to flatten my image because you never flatten image, ever. Don't flatten, merge all the layers upward into a new pixel layer. That way you can do any additional skin adjusting if you need to. If you need to retouch the skin a little more, or say you need to clone something out, you can do that. And you can sharpen all in that layer and it will not affect anything below. So if you mess it up, you just delete that top layer. So in order to stamp visible, you press Command Option Shift E. All at the same time. Command Option Shift E. And what it's going to do is take all of my adjustment layers and merge them upward onto a top layer. So it's like flattening your image, except you don't lose your layers below. So you could turn this layer on and off if you want to. So now I'm going to sharpen this layer. I'm going to go to Filter. I'm going to go to Sharpen, and I'm going to click on Unsharp Mask. This is what mine is set at. Default is amount 250, radius 1, and threshold 10. What it does is every time you close Photoshop, what it does is it remembers your settings from the previous image. So this is how much I sharpened the image before this. This zooms in at 100%. So you just move this around till you find the area of the image that's the most important, which is the eyes. Your eyes are what you're going to sharpen. That's all that matters. Your eyes have to be sharp. You need a sharp, straight out of camera image to start off with. If you have missed the focus, or if you have really soft focus, you can sharpen that a bit, but it's really important to nail the focus and to make sure your focus is really on the eyes. So I'm actually going to turn this amount down to 100 just to show you the difference. When you hold this down, this is before, I'm going to let go, and this is 100% sharpening. And you can see the difference on the eye right here. Okay? Not much. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to keep increasing this. I'm going to go to 150 now. And that's a big difference. You can look at the hair and see how much sharpening is applying there. Radius, I typically leave at 1 all the time. Threshold is, the lower this number is, the more sharpening you get. That means, this threshold means that if the pixels in the image are 10%, like the colors in the pixels are 10% different, then sharpen it. So if I reduce this number, it's going to actually sharpen it more. I don't know why it works that way, but the lower your threshold is, the more it applies. I don't really mess with the threshold much unless I need really intense sharpening. So I normally just change the amount. So at 150, this is nice sharpening. You can see her lips. You can start to see the lines in the lips. See the difference? For me, I would even push this further, and I would probably go about 200. So this is before, after. That's a nice amount of sharpening to me. This is going to look really good on Facebook. I know it might look like it's too much here, but for social media images, the sharper the better. Okay, so there we go. That's what I'm going to stick with. 200. I'll just show you what happens. If you go down on your threshold, watch what happens. I'm going to go down to like 6. See how much more intense that is? So this is saying if there's a 7 pixel difference in the pixels, or I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but the smaller the number on the threshold, the more sharpening you get. So you can go and screw with this if you want, but normally I'll leave it at about 10. Okay. So I'm happy with amount 200, radius 1, threshold of 10. Alright, so now I'm going to press OK. So what this did was, this sharpened my top layer only. I did not flatten it. You cannot sharpen anything but a pixel layer. If I tried to sharpen this top layer, it wouldn't work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the difference here. And you can go turn that top layer on and off to see the difference in your image. Okay, this is with sharpening applied. I'm zoomed in way too much. Oh my god. Okay. So, this is with sharpening applied. This is without it. Alright, that looks pretty good. It's going to look great on Facebook. Now, if I want to save this as a JPEG image for printing, high resolution, all I would do is go to File, Save As, and I'm going to go save it in the Michaela Senior Portraits folder that I just saved our image in. I'm just going to replace it. And then I'm going to go down here, Format. I'm going to change it to JPEG. Here, I'm keeping this as, I'm making sure this box is clicked, Embed Color Profile, sRGB. Now, I know that this image is being saved in sRGB, so when I go to print it at any lab, the color space is correct. And then I'm going to press Save. I'm going to overwrite the last one, Replace. That's fine. So it's saving it as a JPEG. This is my high resolution image. It's going to give me an option in a minute for quality. I save all my high resolution images at quality of 10. 8 is probably good enough, but I save them as 10. You don't have to go 12. 10 is good enough. And then I'm going to press OK. And that's it. Now, if I want to save this for web, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to File and click on Save for Web. For Facebook and Instagram, do this exactly like I'm doing it, and your pictures will be perfect every single time. Trust me on this. This is how to do it. This is how you do it every time. It doesn't matter what other tutorials you've read on sizing or how to save. Don't listen to them. Listen to me. Okay, so I clicked on Save for Web, and this box has popped up. Right now, my image is at 4993 pixels wide and 3333 pixels tall. What you're going to do is, I don't know what the default for this is, but it saves it like this. This is how my default now. I changed it. I'm not really sure if it had what option yours starts off at, but choose PNG 24. Okay, choose the transparency option here. Don't mess with the matte or the interlaced. You can embed the color profile if you want. That's fine, because it's going to embed sRGB and save it that way. I leave mine off because my image is already sRGB, but you can choose that option if you'd like. So it's going to save it as an sRGB file. I also have convert to sRGB checked. So technically you don't even have to have this embed color profile selected, because convert to sRGB needs to be checked off. Preview, I have monitor color. I want the metadata that I have saved to this image, a copyright and contact info applied to this image. So if somebody would save this from the web and try to print it, that metadata is it's stuck on this image. So like the printer would see that my name is attached to it and my contact info, knowing that a professional shot this and people can't print it. Okay, so here under width, okay, your longest edge, since this is a horizontal image, my width is my longest side. So I'm going to change my longest side, which is the width, to 2048 pixels wide. And that is how I'm going to save it, those dimensions. What this is going to do is this is automatically going to save this as a 72 dots per inch resolution image. You don't have to change that. It's going to do it for you. So I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go save this in Michaela's folder here as a PNG. See, it's saving as a PNG. And then I just press save. And that's it. So I just saved it as a PNG image. I'm going to upload that one to Facebook. If you upload to Instagram, that's the file dimensions, the size that you want to upload to Instagram as well. For websites, Squarespace is what I use. I would save this image instead of 2048 pixels wide. I would save it at like 1200, maybe 1000. Squarespace dimensions are different. But Facebook and Instagram, 2048 pixels on the longest side. Okay? And then that's it. Let's do another image real quick. It's another one from this set. This one's a really good example. Okay, this is all the editing that I've done in Photoshop. I added some texture, I added the leaves, I tweaked it a bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to merge all these images into a new pixel layer on top. Merge all these layers into a new pixel layer on top by pressing Command-Alt-Shift-E. It's going to merge my visible layers just like the other one we did. It's going to do a new pixel layer on top of all these. Okay, so I have a new pixel layer on top here. This is the layer I'm going to sharpen. Once my computer finishes thinking again. Okay, I'm going to go to Filter, Sharpen, Unsharp Mask. All right, it's zoomed in at 100%. I'm going to go find her face, wherever it may be. Her eyes are what's important. Now, the last one I sharpened them on, I sharpened 200%, so it saved that setting. So this is, I'm holding this left click down. This is before, and this is 200% sharpening. It's a nice amount of sharpening. Her lips are nice and sharp. But for this one, since the shot's farther away, I could push this one a little more, I think. So I'm going to go to 250 for the percent here. And again, there's no specific number that you apply. It depends on the image. If it's a soft focus image, you can push this more. If your image is really close up, headshot, and it's tack sharp already, you don't need to push it that much. But here, I feel like 250 is nice. I really like how that looks. Her pores aren't really visible. Nice sharpened eyes, they're popping, the hair looks good. I think 300 would be too much. We can look at it to see what it would look like if I did 300%. 300 is way too much. You can see how defined the eyelashes are, and I don't like that at all. It's too much. So I would go with 250. So I think this is a perfect amount of sharpening. Okay, so I'm going to press OK. I just sharpened my top layer. It's not affecting any of the layers beneath. Remember, you have to do a stamp visible. You have to merge them upward to sharpen that top layer. And you have to have a pixel layer. Somebody had asked what's the difference between an adjustment layer and a pixel layer the other day. An adjustment layer is one of these layers. It doesn't actually have pixel data. A pixel layer is this. This is a pixel layer. You can mess with the pixels on the image. You can only sharpen pixel layers. So now, from a distance, when I'm looking at this sharpen, it looks great. That's what you're going to see on Facebook when you upload this. Let me turn it off. This is without sharpening. So much softer. And it just makes a world of a difference when you sharpen properly in Photoshop. This is off, sharpening on, and bam, those eyes pop. Everything looks great. I'm going to zoom in. This is with it sharpened. It looks fantastic. I'm going to turn the sharpening off to show you the difference. And my computer is not listening again. Okay, so that is sharpening off. Again, no specific number that you sharpen. Every image is different. It just depends on the image. But this one needed a little bit more sharpening than the other one did. Now, to save it as a JPEG, you just go File, Save As, JPEG. Again, to save it for web, if you're going to post this on Facebook, you're going to go to File, Save for Web. Okay, so to save it for web, PNG 24, transparency checked off, convert to sRGB, and then change your longest side, which is again my width, to 2048 pixels. Then save, and it's going to save it as a PNG at 72 dots per inch at 2048 pixels wide. That's the number you always use to save for Facebook. And then I'm just going to save it wherever I want to save it at, and it's done. And that's it. So I really hope this was helpful. I'll do another one with like maybe a wider angle with like a full body. I'll sharpen for that. I'll do some high pass sharpening if you want really intense sharpening and show you some different methods. But this is a method that I use 90% of the time to sharpen my images, and they always look super crisp on Facebook, and they just look fantastic. So this is the best method, in my opinion, for sharpening. If you have any questions, leave a comment or comment on the video in the group, and I will answer them as best as I can. Thank you.